And good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you are watching here in the Philippines and all over the world. My name is RJ Ledesma, and welcome to my podcast, the RJ Ledesma Podcast. In my podcast, I interview the country's pioneering business personalities and entrepreneurs to learn more about how they think about doing business, what are their success secrets, and can we reapply them in our own businesses? How have they innovated their businesses during this pandemic? But more importantly, what opportunities do they see emerging in this new normal? Now, is there a business personality or entrepreneur that you would like me to interview here on the podcast? Please let me know. I would love to have them here on the program. Drop me a message. I would love to pick their brains. We are also live right now on Kumu, CBRC TV, Global Pinas TV, and the Bounce Back Network. If you're enjoying this podcast and are learning a lot from it, please do me a favor. Subscribe to the podcast and invite more friends to listen to the RJ Ledesma Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also catch us on YouTube. Now, tonight, I was able to find an overseas, very successful Filipino entrepreneur based out of the UK. And I'm very, very happy to have him here tonight on the program, especially as he's launching a new investment for his product out of the UK, and you can be part of the growth of their product. Tonight, I'm going to be having Von C. Von C is the CEO of Nimble Babies, a company that sells a wide range of family-friendly cleaning products. He is a Filipino-Chinese chemist that's making waves in the UK with a company that aims to reduce the amount of chemicals used in cleaning products, especially for babies and for young children. Now, 6 years since he founded the company, Nimble has launched a range of 6 non-toxic plant-based products for laundry, bottle cleaning, surface cleaning, and hand sanitizing. On top of this one, the child-friendly cleaning brand has recently welcomed Justin King as an investment and advisor. Now, how did the journey of this very proud scholar ng bayan UP alumnus develop to becoming one of the most promising startups in the UK? And what can aspiring entrepreneurs learn from him? Please welcome all the way from the UK, bagong gising pa, we've got Mr. Von C. Von. Welcome to the program. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Good evening, RJ. Good evening, everyone listening in the Philippines. I'm very thankful for this opportunity to be here.
And good morning to you over there. And before everything else, I want to say what an achievement for you there. Not just the company, that you're doing, but you actually have 3 kids right now under the age of 3 in the house. So bravo to you and your wife.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Yeah, you can see my eye bags are growing. Yeah. And I've probably aged by 20 years in the last 10 months. But yes, we are surviving. We are good.
But bravo! I mean, you had 10 months, so you had twins, right, during this
Yes.
pandemic. So wow! Again, we should give an award to your wife
Oh, yes,
for
definitely.
really charging through this pandemic over here. And I'm sure your kids are also big nimble users as well, no?
Exactly. Yeah. So, and any product that we launch, will have been tested to them with them. So, yeah, it's all child approved.
Fantastic. So, one before we start, no, uh, I know that I gave a brief background of what Nimble is, no, but they often tell people, okay, what's your elevator pitch? Or
Yeah.
when you talk to investors, what do you mean? What exactly is Nimble?
Yeah. So yeah, Nimble is a brand of baby-friendly household cleaning products, and our mission at Nimble is to make cleaning safer, greener, and more effective for parents with young children. We are now selling Nimble products here in the UK in 900 supermarket stores with
Wow.
the number one and number two supermarket chains. So that's Tesco and Sainsbury's. And then we are also available in the UK's number one online supermarket called Ocado. And we're also available on Amazon and also our own website. So yeah, so we're making waves. We're slowly getting there, getting to the right places, right distribution channels to get parents know about the brand, and for it to be easier for the parents to switch over, from using regular cleaning products that are made with very industrial grade chemicals, to using our products which are made with plant-based ingredients but without compromising on efficacy and performance.
Well, I'm totally impressed by what you're doing. It's a great. Kumbaga, if you talk about Simon Sinek, start with why. Para I can see the strong why
Uh-huh.
behind this one. But I have a question for you. Why is it not available here in the Philippines, or is it available here in the Philippines as well?
Yes,
Yung
yes. So
produkto
we,
mo.
yeah, we are now available in the Philippines. So we can be found in a few places like Lazada, Mother Care, Rustan's, or in Baby and Beyond, Urban Essentials, Urban Mom, Urban Pantry, The Nest, Edamama, Warble, and we also sell through our distributor via Instagram, which is at nimblebabies.ph. So we are available there in the Philippines as well.
So happy to hear that. But it's
Yeah.
manufactured out of the UK as of the moment. Am I
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
So everything's exactly. Yeah. So everything is proudly made here in the UK. And then yeah, for our Philippine business at the moment, we're exporting everything.
Wow. How
Mhm.
interesting. I'm thinking about it. We're exporting a Filipino developed product from the UK into the Philippines. But don't worry, don't fret. Hopefully, it's part of the roadmap of Nimble to
Mhm.
eventually,
Mhm.
especially given the ingredients that you're using. No, I mean, we have a wealth of those ingredients over here in
Exactly.
the Philippines that you use in Nimble. But having said that, aside from what Nimble is, no, I know that you're making a strong push towards investment here right now. It's very interesting what you're doing as your investment plan. Can you explain a bit more about as to how you're raising it? I know that sometimes people go Series A, Series B
Yeah.
to raise their money, or maybe other ways to do it, or they just go to the stock market. But
Mhm.
what are you guys doing to raise money for
Yeah.
Nimble?
Sure. Yeah. So basically, yeah. So the journey is that there's what you call pre-seed, seed, Series A, B, C. Yeah. That's a kind of like the investment journey. We are still in the seed stage. We're very close to reaching the Series A stage. And yeah, and this is quite the tricky part because in the investment sphere in the UK, there's a lot of money in the pre-seed and seed stage, a lot of
Mhm.
money in Series A, B, C, but there's not a lot of money within the seed and
The
Series
in
A
between,
stage.
the in between.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're kind of like caught in a in that funny period. But yeah, and what we're doing right now is to raise investment through angel investors. So these are investors who have plenty of cash in their bank accounts, but willing to support startups. And then we are also raising money through funds, and also we are doing crowdfunding at the moment. Yeah, so I'm not sure
Very
if
interesting. So we can an angel investor. So you can have not just one but several angel investors here right now. I guess no to move from
exactly.
that pre-series A to the Series A. Is that right?
Yes, exactly, exactly. So you need the power of individual investors to kind of like propel you to the next stage, because once you hit the Series A round, that's when you talk to like what they call institutional investors. These are what you call the venture capitalists, venture capital funds, who have like millions of pounds in their bank accounts, to invest specifically on businesses that where they can see high growth and have already de-risked the business for them.
And having said that, again, no, if you want to be one of the crowd-funded investors of Nimble, let's just show that. Clark, let's show here right now where you can be one of the crowd-sourced investors over here. Crowdcube.com/company/nimble/pitches/BJGMKQ. So if you want to be able to invest over there and be one of the first to own a Filipino developed company in the UK for cleaning products, you know where to go. Again, that's a site, crowd.cube over there. But curiously enough, no, I mean, you became an entrepreneur, and that's not really you're not even business is not even your background. It was chemistry, which
Exactly.
is your background, right? So
Mhm.
that's very interesting. Let's take a look. And my son's doing a guest starring there in the back. I know you know the feeling. This is doing a podcast out of the house. So,
Yeah.
Vaughn, I want to go a bit more into your story. But before that, I know that there's actually a sign of a really great investor coming in, Justin King. And just
Mm.
what does that signal for you that he's invested or he's taken an interest in Nimble?
This is amazing. Yeah. So Justin King is the former CEO of Sainsbury's. Sainsbury's is the number 2 supermarket chain here in the UK, which is worth
Mhm.
32 billion pounds. So he was responsible for the turnaround of Sainsbury's in the early 2000s, and he was CEO for 10 years at Sainsbury's. And yeah, for me, the fact that we have this big hitter involved in the business right now. Actually, I had my first advisory meeting with him yesterday.
Mhm.
It's an awesome validation of what I've created as a brand, and he believes that this is something that can grow big, not just here in the UK and also globally, and that's why he invested, and also threw in his hat in the ring to be part of it, because yeah, he feels like this is a wonderful opportunity, once in a lifetime opportunity that he didn't want to miss.
How did he
And
come across? How did he come across Nimble?
yeah, so this is a funny story, because yeah, now we live in this pandemic, post-pandemic world. So I just met him online.
Hmm.
So in December, about a week before Christmas, I went to an online pitch event, and I was pitching Nimble to various investors, and yeah, there was one guy in the online pitch event who said, "Let's speak after this. I know someone who might want to invest." So yeah, the next day I ended up having a call with this guy, and he said, "Yeah, this guy that I know is Justin King. Would you be would you be interested to speak to him?" I'm like, "Oh, I had to keep my cool and be sure I don't appear starstruck." But yeah, I said, "Oh yeah, why not?" So yeah, come January in the new year, yeah, he managed to arrange for us a meeting with Justin, and Justin, yeah, I thought I would be pitching hard to him, but in the end, yeah, he was very genuinely genuinely interested, and he just wanted to give back. He's achieved so much. Yeah, he has a CBE. In the UK, this is in the UK, meron silang tinatawag na MBE, OBE, CBE, and then knighthood. Yeah, so he's
Mhm.
just like one level below the knights of the UK. So
So almost night siya.
yes, exactly, almost night, and he's just doing this really to yeah, support founders, because they know how hard it is to to start a business and grow a business, and he just wanted to do his bit to be able to make sure that we don't commit mistakes that could be fatal for the business.
Oh, I like that. He wants to make sure that you don't make mistakes that are fatal to the business. And yesterday, you said you did have a meeting with him, no?
Mm.
Care to share some of the insights that you gained from him from yesterday's meeting that really kind of blew your mind and then said, "Wow, this is what wow, this is what the realization this was."
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so what I love about Justin is he's very witty, very quick. um yeah, he has like decades of experience working in the business. But what I love about him is that he is an executive. So he's not really because over the last few months, and I've been speaking to a lot of investors who are trained to create value in businesses by pushing the business to certain directions that you as a founder don't really believe would create value for you. But then he now he's kind of like double hatting between being an executive and an investor. What I loved about our chat yesterday is that he told me to make sure that I protect myself and the business in terms of like being swayed into many different directions by investors. Yeah, and we need to hold our ground because we, as the executives of the business, know how to create the value, within, and no, there are no better people who can do that but ourselves. So yeah, what he's saying is that there might be a trade-off later on that let's say yeah, an investor wants to invest, but then he wants you, or they want you to launch in a certain country that you're not comfortable in. So then yeah, just hold your ground. You don't go for that, because eventually that will create a lot of problems. So yeah, there's a lot of wisdom from someone who's experienced so much. And I think as someone younger and with less years of experience in business, I'd probably just jump in and just kind of like go into follow the current of the investor. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
follow the direction of the investor when something internally with me doesn't fully agree. But then with him being that executive and have that strong business background, yeah, he's saying no, hold your ground, because you out of everyone would know what is best for your business. So this is really good.
Well, really, really great insight. And how exactly, because you came from Unilever, so I'm sure you know this one. When people ask you, it's a fast moving consumer good which you're doing, so something not too far away from your wheelhouse. I mean, you were familiar with the sort of creating laundry ingredients. This is something that you're familiar with. What exactly was the position? What exactly is the positioning of Nimble there? Is it a premium product? Is it a mass based product?
Yeah, so we are a premium brand here in the UK. So in the UK, there's a lot of regular cleaning products from Unilever, from Procter and Gamble, from Reckitt Benckiser. Yeah, and then on the flip side, this is probably not as present in the Philippines yet, but there are brands now in the UK and in Europe which is around eco cleaning. Yeah, so it's about eco plant-based cleaning. So we're kind of like in between the regular cleaning brands and also the eco brands, because our key USP in Nimble is the fact that we are baby focused. Yeah, so
Okay.
all our products are designed to tackle specific baby's mess. Yeah, so for example, our first product, which is Milk Buster, the baby bottle cleaner. It was designed specifically to remove milk residues from baby bottles. And yes, a dishwash liquid from Procter and Gamble or Unilever can remove these milk residues, but then it has to do it. It's over engineered basically. So these dishwash liquids are over engineered for the purpose of cleaning baby bottles. And then at the same time, I don't know if you've experienced this. When you use normal dishwash liquid, you can smell and almost taste the soap inside the container. And that this is one key insight that I had when I was designing and developing our first product, Milkbuster. I said, it cannot have the taste, it cannot have the smell, because this signals chemical residues inside the bottles that parents would be quite fearful of or worried about, because it might get ingested by the baby. So that's how I developed Nimble, and our product ethos and our principles when developing products for Nimble. It has to tackle a specific baby mess, and it has to use plant-based ingredients that are effective in tackling those baby mess. It cannot be over-engineered, because it has to be safe for use for babies.
Fantastic. Great insight that you gained sort of like along the way. That becomes what I would call uh, using my entrepreneurial lingo as your secret sauce. What makes you different is that you're tackling just those two main concerns about the product. It's really baby focused, and of course, it should be natural plant based ingredients. Now, let's take a step back, because this is such an interesting story that I'm hearing. Because you're not just being an entrepreneur over here, you were an entrepreneur who didn't have a business background initially because you're R&D. So parang,
Mm.
you weren't really looking at the business side of the proposition. And at the same time, you're doing this in another country where basically you don't have the sort of network. Because I mean, my assumption is as a Filipino Chinese, there's going to be at least a network for you over here of business people whom you can rely
Mm.
on, or you
Mhm.
can talk to if there's a
Mhm.
problem, may makakausap ka. But it's a different environment altogether
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I would just want to ask you. Let's get to the secret origin of Von C. So Von, how did it start off for you? Like I was saying earlier on, so you graduated from UP. Then from there, uh, how did that going from UP uh, end up you going to the UK?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah. So my background, yeah. So I'm Chinese, born in the Philippines. And then I went to a small Chinese school in Quezon City called PIQC. Yeah. And I remembered, when I was in PIQC, I have to always explain to people where PIQC was. So yeah, I kind of felt like, oh, yeah, wouldn't it be nice if I went to a school where people, don't really need to ask me where my school was. So thank God I was able to get into UP. Yeah, and that was, yeah, I think that was very pivotal for me as an individual, to be able to get to a prestigious university. And yeah, I took up chemistry in UP. And then yeah, I was fortunate enough to join Unilever through the Business Week program. So
Oh,
in
similar.
my
So we both have that's our common denominator, as we talked earlier on. We were both
exactly.
Unilever Business Weekers, but a couple of years apart. I was like 1995.
No, not too distant from me. So I was 2001. Yes.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, so
not too
just
far
six
apart. Not
years.
too far
Yeah,
apart. Okay.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, I went to Unilever Business Week, and that was an eye opener for me because, you know, I'm being trained as a scientist. I've never been exposed to business whatsoever. I remembered, in my first 2 days in the program, I'm like, okay, what am I doing in Business Week? How did I end? How did I end up here? I didn't even know, words like supply chain or commercial terms, things like that. So it was such an eye opener for me, and I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity to get into the program, because that then opened doors for me to join Unilever after I graduated
Mhm.
from chemistry. And then yeah, I joined the R&D team at Unilever in the Philippines. I was there for 3 years, and then yeah, and what's great about Unilever is that it's very easy to kind of like move around internally. And at the time, I was like itching to experience something different. Yeah, because I said, I want to do something like deep science kind of R&D work. Yeah. So I ended up applying for a job in Unilever in the UK, where the global R&D centers are. So yeah, I joined the what they call the research group, and I was working on things like enzymes. And it's really the deep science on enzymes and how it cleans in when it comes to laundry products. So yeah, that's how I ended up being in the UK. So I joined Unilever, what they call Port Sunlight here. So that's the head R&D center, global R&D center for detergents. And then I spent 4 years there, and then 3 years in Unilever in Leeds, which is the deodorants global center. So in total, yeah, I spent 10 years at Unilever. And then yeah, at the time, I was getting married. Yeah, I was getting married to my wife, and what she told me is that yeah, and she was going to be moving to London, and I
Ah,
was
so
based in
you went. So you're based in London, but then so LDT kayo LDR kayo,
and
long distance relationship kayo.
yeah, we were. So she was based in Milan actually, and then she
So
was
not super far, not super far. So you're both on the continent, parang ganyan.
yeah, exactly. So she was going to be assigned to London, and I was in the north of the UK, so I wasn't in London. um and we both wanted to be in London, so I thought, okay, if I move down to London, should I start a business or move with Unilever, or go into management consultancy? So it was kind of like, big decisions to be made. We prayed about it, and my wife said, you've been wanting to start your own business, so why don't you just do it? We don't have any financial responsibilities, so why don't you just go and do it? I was like,
Ang
oh,
lakas ng
great.
loob ng asawa mo, ha? Abroad na kayo. magsimula kayo ng negosyo kahit abroad kayo. I mean, for me that's a bit
Yeah,
scary, but that's
yeah.
impressive. Eh.
Yeah, it was very scary. Yeah, I think we were just crazy and silly, and I suppose you're blind as well, not really seeing a lot of the risks involved. But yeah, thank God, things have worked out. The gamble has worked out. And yeah, a few years down the line, yeah, so we've been able to make things work within the brand. It wasn't easy. Yeah, what you're hearing now are the me reflecting back, but while you're in the trenches, it's just
Oh
hard.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Now, when you were there, so let me go back to that story because this is the interesting part. When we start getting into the entrepreneurship game now, you were there in the north of London. He was in Milan. You said, okay, let's put up a business. What did you do? Did you say, okay? How did you know what business to what? How did you figure out what business to put up while you were there? And when did you know it was
Mm,
time to leave her? Because of course it's very comfortable. You had that. You had a good paycheck. You were
mm,
there. Why
yeah,
sacrifice leaving a comfortable job with a multinational to
yeah.
do entrepreneurship?
No, that's a very good question, RJ. I think to me, what was important to me at that time, yeah, so I'm 40 right now. So back then, yeah, I was, 2013, I was 31, yeah, so 31, 32, yeah. And at that time, I thought, okay, I'm already in my 30s. I've been wanting to start my own business when I was in my 20s.
Mhm.
I don't want to look back, I don't want to turn 40 and look back and say, oh, it's a shame I haven't tried it. Yeah. So there was this itch that I wanted to, to kind of like satisfy in many
Mhm.
ways.
Mhm.
And what was important for me was, I've tried something. Um, Even if I failed, I think I would rather fail than to have not tried it. Yeah. Yeah. And that was what propelled me to doing it. That's one. And then secondly, what I valued and still value until now is the autonomy. Yeah. It's great to be part of a big engine like Unilever. But what I felt was that, I'm just going to be, a small part of the business where I
Mhm.
felt like what I wanted was autonomy, to be able to freely do the things that I'm passionate about, and
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
yeah, that's the second thing that pushed me to do it.
Wow. So, having said that, so I understand the mindset that you want to be able to get into business,
Mhm.
but how did you know which one you would get into?
Ah,
Did you know that? Did you know that it was like I want to use my chemistry background for what I've
mm-mm.
learned, and that then you reapplied it, or were you going to do something outside of that field
Yeah.
to put up your
No,
own
so yeah,
business?
so for me it was clear that I have to play to my strengths. Yeah. So I was like, okay, ano na ako, dehado na, I'm at a disadvantage, because, I'm in the UK, I don't really know anyone. So if I kind of like throw myself into things that I don't know, then, I think I'm not setting myself up for success. So yeah, so that's, I thought at the time I was actually exploring two things. So I was doing some consultancy work, which is around
Mhm.
R&D and chemistry, and then at the same time I was, yeah, developing, the first product, which is Milkbuster. So yeah, so I was parallel pathing things. I remember this conversation with my wife. It was actually very easy to do the consultancy work. I was earning my year salary just by working for 3-4 months in a year.
Wow, not so bad.
Yeah, that was, such a lucrative business to work on. But then, yeah, I felt like, yeah, I wanted to start a brand, and be able to really impact more people. So even though it was the tougher route to go for, I ended up doing it because, yeah, I just felt like, yeah, I can always go back to R&D. Yeah, but I knew that 10 years down the line I wouldn't have the same energy and passion, for starting a business, if so that's how I ended up, choosing starting Nimble and dropping the consultancy work. So I did the consultancy work for like 18 months, to 2 years after leaving Unilever. But yeah, at the same time I was, parallel pathing, as I said, Nimble. And at that time, how Nimble was conceived was, through my chat with my sister, who at the time just had a baby, and she was the one who told me about the
Was she based in the UK or she's based here in
no,
Manila?
based in Manila, based in Manila,
Oh,
and it was just a chat over the phone. She was telling me, oh, you know, I've been having this a challenge around washing my baby's bottles, and I said, oh, can you tell me more about it? And then yeah, she was the one who explained to me that oh, the bottles are becoming quite slimy inside, and then it also smells of spoiled milk when she doesn't use enough dishwash liquid. So I said,
mhm.
okay, why don't you just use enough dishwash liquid? And then that's when she told me, oh, because I'm concerned about the chemicals, because I can smell that there's a small a strong smell of dishwashing liquid inside the bottles.
Mhm.
So I thought, okay, maybe there's a real problem to be solved here. So before I jumped into full blown R&D product development, based on my training with Unilever, I made sure that there's a proper consumer insight, and it's not just my sister telling
Wow, I
me.
like that. It's so brand. It's so brand.
yeah,
It's so brand
yeah,
management.
yeah, exactly. So that's how, and yeah, so I ended up doing my consumer research. So I didn't know a lot of moms in the UK. So yeah, that's why, because at the time I was in my early 30s. Most of my friends were still, either married with no children or still single. So and then yeah, I just moved to London as well. So I didn't really have people that I know who are moms. So I ended up going to a big shopping mall in London, called John Lewis, and this is like the equivalent of um of Podium in Manila. Yeah. So yeah, I ended up going there and stayed there for 2 hours, and then tapping the shoulders of the moms with
Nako.
babies, and I asked them, can you just answer for me a five
Parang
question.
stalker levels yan ah.
Exactly, and that's one of my struggles, because I'm a guy, I'm foreign, yeah, and then I was doing consumer research. It just wasn't natural, yeah. So, but I had to just you know suck it up and just go for it. And so I did my consumer research in that mall, asking random moms to fill out the survey with 5 questions. And then from there I realized that actually there is a problem, and then I did a full-blown survey, with 1000 moms, through some online
Wow.
stuff. And then yeah, that's how I ended up proving to myself, okay, this is not just my
That's
sister.
really hustle, huh? That's really hustle on your part, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Because I know that if I were to invest a lot of money, and my time, and and my family's time, on this, I want to make sure that there's a real consumer need and it's not just made up. Yeah. And yeah, so that's how Nimble all started. It was through my chat with my sister, validated by proper consumer research.
That's such a great story to tell people. I mean, you never know where the insight comes from, because that was such an innocent conversation that you had, which became the impetus to develop the product. But occurred to me as you were telling me this one. Sabi ko, okay, he's identified the problem, and he knows what to do. Where did you get the resources to actually do the R&D? Because I mean, you were out of labor by the time, right? So
Mm, mhm,
you
mhm,
can, of course, you're gonna access the resources of your company. But how did you actually start developing
mm,
the
mm.
products?
Yeah.
Where were you able to R&D?
Yeah. So yeah, that's yeah, one of the challenges when I was starting, because yeah, people assume that because I was an R&D manager at Unilever, and that I'm from Unilever, that I would know all the suppliers, all the labs, all the factories here in the UK. But that's far from reality, because within Unilever you have so many suppliers and you have networks. Yeah. That yeah, you don't need to go out and research for partner suppliers. But in the end, what happened with me is, yeah, I just had to like really research a lot, went online, looked for ways to meet labs and lab owners, factory owners. And yeah, I found this website in the UK. So it's called British Contract Manufacturers Association. So they have a list, and this is what's amazing, at least in the UK. Even if I'm at a disadvantage in terms of like my own network, you can kind of like make your way because things are organized. Yeah, so if you just know how to research things, yeah, you can find the right people. So yeah, and so that's how I ended up working with this first ever factory that I worked with. It was through this contract manufacturer's website. And then I remembered meeting this guy in a coffee shop in London. Um, yeah, and he said, "Oh, I'm very interested to with your product idea. This hasn't been done in the UK, so I'm happy to support you." So he ended up sharing with me, charge he didn't charge me for lab work, for example. There was a lot of
Wow.
goodwill. Yeah, there was a lot of goodwill because he is also a business owner. He believed in the business idea, and then he believed in me, and that's how it all started.
Okay, then, so you say it's natural plant-based product. So tell me, uh, so for people like me, I'm not a researcher or scientist. How did the process go for developing the product? How did you source them? Because these are natural plant-based products, right? So these are not
Mhm.
chemicals that you're looking for. So how did you
Mm-hmm.
actually develop them in the lab?
So the thing is, so with normal, regular cleaning products, what are the ingredients that are being used are derived from petroleum-based chemicals. Yeah, so meaning they're proven safe. There's a lot of studies to show that they're safe. But then these are petroleum-based chemicals that are non-renewable.
Mhm.
And what I've done is I had the head knowledge, I have the theoretical knowledge in terms of what could be ingredients that are derived from plants, processed from plants that could replace these petroleum-based chemicals. So the funny story here was actually I was asking a lab, I was getting a lab to actually develop the formulation for me. I just gave a generic brief, and I wanted the lab to develop the formula. And
Galing,
I
ah.
thought, and I thought, why did I do this? I could actually develop the formula myself. So I was in the shower getting frustrated because it wasn't getting anywhere. So I thought, okay, hang on a minute. I'm a chemist. I know these ingredients. So why don't I build the recipe and just ask the lab to execute the recipe? And yeah, so that's how I ended up developing the first product, Milk Buster. It was through using my experience and theoretical knowledge of the chemistry of detergents. I wrote the recipe on a piece of paper after having a shower, and then just asked the lab to
Okay.
execute
Okay,
it for
I
me.
can imagine anybody like, my wife often tells me her best ideas come in the shower eh. Parang
Yeah,
ginagawa mo
exactly.
parang nakahubad ka pa, basa pa yung buhok mo. Kasi you'll forget it, di ba? So you write it
Yeah.
down kaagad, di ba?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, it's really fun to reminisce and remember all these things.
When that happened, so let's say, okay, the first, your beta product came out, your pilot product came out.
Mhm,
How did you
mhm,
test it there in the UK? Did you just go to
mhm.
people again randomly in the mall and have a mom test have a mom test the product? How do you
Yeah,
how do you start it off
yeah.
over there?
So I ended up I did it in two waves, again in true Unilever fashion. So I did it first with a small group of moms. So yeah, I just asked a friend who's a mom to kind of like ask her other friends to test the product. So in the UK, there's a thing. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's prominent in the Philippines yet, but basically in the UK there are mom groups to kind of
Okay.
like support each other. Yeah, so I know one mom through my networks, and then it was her who asked her other mom friends to test the product, and that's more like a qualitative research. So I wanted to know, okay,
Mhm.
what did they like, what did they not like, and those feedback helped me develop the current product. And then once I have a product that I was happy with, then I tested it with 30 people that I didn't know. So it was completely blind.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
didn't know me, they didn't know the brand, and yeah, basically I gave them a questionnaire on product efficacy, and usability and things like that, and that's how I ended up being assured that the final product that I have has been approved and vetted, not just by moms that I know, but also moms that I don't know. And that's you get both. So it's an unbiased response to the product.
So once you find when you got your first product ready, what was your next step for that one? Because now you had to produce a limited batch of these products, right?
Mm, mm.
How,
Yeah.
how did it
So
move on? How did it move from there to there?
oh yeah, so that was a huge investment. So yeah, I was using our own savings
So in other words,
for
you were bootstrapping over there.
exactly bootstrap for the first 3 4 years. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, first
That's
2 to 3
that's
years.
that's
Mhm.
scary. I mean, for me, you're abroad. You have a new wife. I mean, you're newly married, and then you're
Yeah.
gonna bootstrap. I mean, emotionally, how is that like for you? Because I'm trying to imagine myself doing that. It's like
Mm.
I can't, but it's
Yeah.
really that's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was very scary. I think firstly, yeah. It was a personal journey for me as well, because I think, when I was at Unilever, I found myself, when I left Unilever, I found myself kind of like lost. Yeah, because yeah, funnily my identity was linked to Unilever. Yeah,
Yes, I
and
understand. I understand what you
yeah,
mean. I understand what you
yeah,
mean. No.
yeah. So when I left, I felt like, okay, what am I then, and who am I?
Yes, yes, I understand.
Yeah,
I
without
feel
the
exactly.
Unilever. Yeah, so yeah, when I was meeting friends, I couldn't tell them, okay, what I do, or they're like, yeah, they don't really understand what the startup world
Yeah.
is like. So
Like I
yeah,
said, I came from I was like PNG, so people say, "Oh yeah," because the people know the company and parang you understand the culture that's there, and the culture becomes part of you, diba? So when you leave and
mm,
then you're part of that culture, that system, you go, "What's next for me?" Because you don't
yeah,
understand. Walang uh, clear set out career path, parang ganyan. When you go
no,
entrepreneurship, diba?
yeah, exactly, and yeah, and it was a personal journey for me. Without going much into the detail, but basically, I found myself kind of like, like reflecting on, where does my identity lie. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I'm a Christian. Yeah, so yeah, eventually, yeah, I figured out, that, yeah, actually, my identity is in Christ, and it's not,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's not something that will waver. Yeah, so no matter, you know if I fail or if I succeed, my identity stays the same. Yeah. So
That's right. That's right.
that is what kind of like propelled me into just taking the risk, because yeah, I know that, yeah, even if I fail, even now, even if I fail at this point in time, I would feel like it. Obviously it will hurt. It will hurt
Yeah,
for many
I
months.
understand.
Yeah,
I
but
know. Wow, I understand you exactly. I understand you exactly. Oh,
okay, yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah, so I'm not just being a weirdo, but yes, that's exactly how, what kind of like propelled me into, like, just taking risks, because I know my identity is secured.
Uh,
Yeah.
if you were to reflect on that time, and I often ask this question from the other guests, because people don't understand they only, like I said, no, you only get to see the nice press releases that people
Mm,
put out about the company na medyo tumayo na yung company, then okay siya. Pero hindi nila nakikita yung mini failures along the way
mm, mm,
and the emotional toll it takes
mm,
on the entrepreneur. For you,
mm,
what was the time na parang you were so down because
mm.
of there's the low points, like you tell yourself, my god, I put in so much money, it might not succeed, or I risked everything, I left lever, and I'm doing this one, it's not sure. Was there a time like
Yeah.
that for you when you were
Oh,
doing the business?
definitely. Many times. You get, for every success that you get, for every victory, you get maybe 10, 15 blows. And
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
not
yeah.
what people
Oof,
see. Yeah.
oof, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So in the UK, they have this terminology, called 10-year overnight success. Yeah. Yeah. So
I like that.
yeah, so people see that it's an overnight success, but then what they don't see is that, it was 10 years in the making. And yeah, and definitely I had my fair share of this. So one example that I would share is, yeah, so like after 2 years of bootstrapping, I realized that, I cannot go on and grow the business without getting an external investment into the business. So I have to go
Mhm.
out and look for funds through investors. And yeah, and that was a huge struggle, because as I said, I didn't know anyone. All my networks were within Unilever. So yeah, so I had to go out and pitch every single night, to pitch events. Back then, this
Wow,
was pre-COVID. There were physical
wow.
pitch events. Yeah, and I ended up kissing a lot of frogs, in these pitch events. Meaning, they would be they'd be like, oh, oh, you have a fantastic idea, let's speak. And then, the next day you speak, they ended up actually selling services to you rather than being investors. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got
so
that.
they're
Got that.
yeah, so they're either brokers or they are accountants or they are legal advisors, but they're not investors. But then what was good is that for each time that I went out to the pitch events, I learned how to pitch better. Um, People said that it only takes about 3 to 6 months to pitch and raise and complete an investment round. But in my case, in that first investment round, I did in 12 months. So imagine, I was already on month 10, month 11. I was like, okay, I don't think this is going anywhere. It's probably
Oh
time
yeah,
for me
yeah.
to close down. Yeah. But then, yeah, thank God, on the 11th month, there was a group of investors that I met who said, yeah, we're happy to invest in you. And within 2 weeks, they made it happen. Yeah. And that was a huge learning for me. I thought, okay, this is how it works. So if there's a group of investors who are interested, they'll make it happen quickly. They won't delay, they won't delay, and that was my experience in the past, that I ended up speaking to a group of investors for months on end, and then in the end they would just say, actually I wasn't interested to invest. So now when I speak to investors, I can already discern instantly, okay, is this worth the time to cultivate and nurture that relationship, or not. Yeah, because as an entrepreneur, your main currency, your main resource is time, and you need to protect your time. Yeah.
Can you teach us a bit more? I mean, I know this might be a bit off topic, but from the 10 months that you learned about
Mm,
pitching and what's a good pitch, what's a bad pitch,
mm.
there's a lot of entrepreneurs listening right now, people making pitches here right now. Can you distill about two or three of the things that you learned about, what makes the pitch work
Yeah.
after not being successful in the first three to
Yeah,
six
yeah,
months?
yeah. No, so I think the first error that a lot of founders would make is over pitching, and I'm guilty of that as well. Yeah, so in my first few pitches, because I felt like I needed to demonstrate to the investors that I know my stuff inside and out. So
Mhm.
I would produce like 30, 40 slides for my pitch, and I would tell everything, like
Kasi
I would
chemist
tell.
ka, di ba? So I know the chemical composition also. That's what you were showing them, I guess, at the start, no?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So 50% of the slides are about the science and chemistry of things, and then I
Uh,
forget. Oh, actually, these are businessmen. They're not really
uh,
interested in the science of things. They would trust that I know the science, yeah. But what they're interested with is the insight. Is there a market fit? And how can they make money out of this? Yeah. So
mhm.
yeah. So you need to kind of like tune into to the audience that you're pitching to. So yeah, so that's one fundamental flaw that I was guilty of. I was over pitching and pitching, not thinking about my audience and what they actually want to hear. Yeah, yeah, and then secondly, it's more around just being aware of the different different pitches that you need to have in your pocket, and you need to know it by heart. So what I've been trained to do is to have a 7-second pitch, uh, and a 1 minute pitch and a 5 minute pitch. Yeah. So yeah. So that's and you just you need to know all these things by heart. And you just need to practice, practice, practice. Yeah. And the 7-second pitch is, I think, the best one, because it forces you to distill what your business is all about. Yeah. Whereas I think when you have a business, you just want to, like, go on and on and on and talk about it. But for someone new that you've met, they don't need to know all the details. They just need to know the headline. And forcing yourself to have a 7-second pitch will allow you to get into this headline message.
Sige nga, Von, ano ba yung 7-second pitch mo? I want to hear the 7-second pitch.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, what I would say is that Nimble is a baby-friendly brand, a baby-friendly household cleaning brand on a mission to make cleaning greener, safer, and more effective for parents with young children. Yeah.
Okay,
And then
panalo na yan.
yeah, and then yeah, once you get the interest of the person you're speaking to, that's when you talk about the other bits. Yeah.
I see, I see. I got that.
Yeah.
Now, okay, when the product was, so it's out, you spent money behind it, it was going, I mean, like you said, no, mga 2000, that's about 2015, 2006. When did you produce your first batch of Nimble
Oh yeah, it was in
products?
2015. Yes, that's correct.
2015. So
2015.
you were out there pitching the stuff, scary, exciting at the same time. what was the point for you where it came to saying, parang, of course, you went to the hard times, but what point did you say, hey, it's going to work? Because, something happened. Was that kind of like that pivotal incident where you said, oh, this is awesome. It might actually come true.
Yeah, so I would say it was when when we got our first listing with Ocado. Yeah, so with our first retail account. So Ocado is as I mentioned earlier, it's the number one online supermarket here in the UK. So yeah, when they agreed to list our products and sell our products, I was like, oh, okay, a serious player is interested, so we have a shot at this. And then after Ocado, we also had the chance to pitch to Sainsbury's. Yeah, and Sainsbury's said, yes, we're happy to launch your products in like 375 stores. I was like,
wow, blows your mind.
exactly, yeah. So I was like, from being just present online, and then a year and a half later launching into Sainsbury's, I was like, oh wow, this is really going to happen. And then last year, we launched into 500 Tesco stores. So I was like, mind blown. So yeah, I think it's these little victories that that I had to learn to recognize, because I'm usually quite hard on myself. I'm quite hard on myself. I have like high expectations, and throughout the years of doing this, I've just learned, through my wife's reminders that I have to celebrate these little victories. Getting a patent, for example, was a huge victory for us. Getting the first investment, it's a huge victory. Getting my first employee was also a huge victory. So I think when you know that people are backing you and believing in what you do, I think that's what propels you further.
Oh, this is my guest star, my son here right now. Say hi. Say hi
Hello,
to
you're
everybody
right.
over there. Okay. So how many employees do you have here right now?
Yes, so we're still a very small team. So I now have four employees internally, and then I work externally with four other people. So a
I
total of
see.
eight. Total of eight, but in house is only four.
And
Yeah,
then right now, aside, oh, you were saying, oh, sorry, please continue. Please continue.
yeah. I was just gonna say that and this is one of the reasons why we're raising funds for the business right now. It's because we need to scale our growth. We have fantastic distribution, 900 stores, but there's only four of us attending to the needs of all these 900 stores.
Wow.
So we're now raising funds in order for me to be able to hire more people in the team.
Oh, so, and if
Yeah.
you want to hire more, if you want to be part of, if you want to invest and own a part or equity in Nimble, let's flash again, Clark. Let's flash again their crowdsourced where you can crowdsource your funding or investment for Nimble. Again, that's crowdcube.com/company/nimble/pitches/BJGMKQ. So I know there's a lot of people right after the whole talk. People must be really interested for me in pati kahit konti kahit papaano they will
Mm.
own a big part of history over here.
Yeah.
Now in the current company that you run, no, it's going already right now. Does your wife happen to work here as well, or she doesn't work with you in the
No,
company?
no, no. Yeah. So actually, this is one of the things that we've decided on. Early on in the business. We decided that we will be a husband and wife rather than business partners. So it wasn't an easy decision. But yeah, eventually, like after 4 months of starting the business, we recognized that I think what will be more healthy for us is for us to be primarily husband and wife rather than business partners. But then she's a marketeer by training. She's also ex Unilever.
I'm sure
So
she's like she's itching. I know. I'm sure your wife's kind of itching also as well. But saying,
yeah,
but for the sake of our marriage, let's keep it
exactly.
separate because it's so difficult because she's a marketer, di ba? It's so
Yeah,
difficult.
exactly. Yeah, and I'm not a marketer. I'm not a business person. She is, and she can already see from afar that, oh, Vaughn, you are going into a car crash right now. But okay, I'm not gonna say anything. I'll let you kind of like experience this yourself so that you learn. So
It's so hard. It's so hard. It must be so
so
hard.
yeah, so I remembered so there are some funny stories with this. So for example, when I have marketing or business related questions, I cannot just bring it on her over dinner. So I have to book some time with her, ahead of the day. So I would say I have to text her, while we're both at work. Okay, I need 20 minutes from you later after dinner. Let's speak about some problem or question I have in mind. So that's how we kind of like separate work and family life. And then secondly, I remember like sharing with her some product concepts for Nimble, and yeah, she just looked at me exasperated and said, Von, do you want an answer from a wife or from a marketer? Because the difference is,
At least you separated it, no?
exactly, yeah, because if it was an answer from a wife, then she would have told me, oh, great product concepts, she would be super supportive. But then I said, yeah, I want the answer of a marketer. So then she gave me the honest feedback on the product concepts that I had. So yeah, we at the moment, she's not anywhere near in the business.
Okay, I mean, like for me, I happen to work with my wife, and I mean, there are obviously pros and cons to working
Mm,
together with your spouse. But
mm,
I think that what I would take into consideration also how you've tried to separate talking as a spouse and talking as
mm.
a professional. Really great advice from there, Von.
Oh, thank you.
Moving ahead, no, I know that you're based out of the UK here right now, and you're doing the products over there, but because I'm just guessing that you still have a perspective on Philippine business and what's going on over here. And as an OFW, technically as an
Yeah.
OFW, as an expat entrepreneur,
Mhm.
and coming from your background of not just chemistry but understanding uh, of these products, these eco cleaning products,
Mm,
what opportunities do you see emerging here in the Philippines,
mm,
especially
mm.
that entrepreneurs can still take advantage of?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and and this is great because that's one of the things that I would love to be able to do, to be able to kind of like give back. So one thing is, what I'm seeing in the UK, and usually the European markets are kind of maybe 2-3 years ahead of things, in certain aspects. Yeah, but I would say the big trend at the moment here is around plant-based and sustainability. Yeah, people are very much aware and conscious about the environmental toll and impact of the things that we're doing. So for example, waste is a huge problem. Chemicals in the water stream is a huge problem. Plastics in the ecosystem is a huge problem. So so there's a
Taking right
huge
now, face mask is the big. I mean,
exactly.
the face mask which we dispose is a big problem. The face shields which we've been disposing of have been a big problem for the
Exactly. Yeah.
environment.
And even all the swabs, all the test kits for
Oh,
for COVID. Yeah, this is gonna impact us a lot. 5 years down the line. So, but then I think people are just kind of like turning
right now,
away.
diba?
Yeah.
You can't see that right. You can't just see that right now. Oh,
No, no. So I would say that is going to be a huge trend coming in the next few years, especially in the Philippines where there's 100 million people. We in the UK there's only 65. So 100 million people. Yeah, obviously, sustainability and products that will help solve environmental issues would be possibly one of the big trends that will happen.
oh, really great insights from you, Vaughn. I wish we had another hour to talk more because I really want to get into your story because oftentimes I have startups which are more, tech startup related. But this is nice because
Mm,
this is a product startup related, and
yeah.
I love the story that you're telling over here.
Mhm.
Um, you've had a fantastic experience over the past 6-7 years doing this product, especially across the pandemic, and then growing it in a foreign country. Uh, are there any, as we start to close out this discussion, are there any sort of like what are your life lessons for entrepreneurs that you want to share? Let's say, if you're here to mentor them, what do you want to tell the entrepreneurs who are
Oof.
listening to you right now? I guess top of mind, top three that you think they should know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say I'd go back to the first thing around finding what it is that motivates you. Um, yeah. Um, So yeah, I wanted to say passionate. What are the things that you're passionate about? But I think passion is quite dangerous to use as the
Parang
as the
passion is overrated sometimes, di ba? I
yeah,
think
exactly. Yeah,
that's
because the passion will dwindle. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, but I would say find find s- yeah, kind of like do a search, do an inventory of yourself, find out what it is that you want to get out, because not everyone is built to become an entrepreneur, and that's perfectly fine.
Mhm.
Every person has their own calling. Yeah. But if you feel like this is really something for you, yeah, find out why. Yeah. And in my case, what I wanted to do was that, I wanted to be doing something that will give me the autonomy. Yeah. And that was what was important for me. Yeah, so that's one. And then secondly, yeah, I would say, yeah, 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 so do a lot of research before you kind of like jump into things. I know research is boring. I know that, I'm guilty of this as well, that I feel like what I know is, the universal truth. Yeah. But there's a lot of benefit that you can get, when you research properly, because yeah, that will help you avoid the traps and making fatal mistakes for the business. And then yeah, thirdly, when things are just tough, when you're in that tough place, yeah, go back to where your identity lies. Yeah, so those would be the three things that I would say would be the key things for anyone who's thinking of starting a business.
Really great insight. Can I just ask one question? I hope you don't mind about the your second insight that you had about research. I know research is important,
Yeah.
um, and especially coming from the same background of a multinational. I mean, research is king, right? Data
Yeah.
is king. But during my time, it's like consumer research was king, right? So you
Mhm.
wouldn't move unless you got all the data, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you enter into an environment where it's not as data rich as you were used to in a
Mm,
corporation. I know you
yeah.
know exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
How do you know that you're stuck between um, analysis paralysis and let's move ahead? Because sometimes some people they're just so stuck on the research and they're scared to move, and
Yeah.
others some are like kind of like, okay, I don't need to know too much, basta sugod na, di ba? Some people they're like that. So
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
where do you stand on
Yeah.
that type of
So
how
yeah.
much research is enough research?
Yeah, so for me, I abide by the 80/20 law. Yeah. So it's just impossible for you to have 100% of the data available, especially when you're a startup, because getting data is expensive. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and it's expensive. It's time consuming. Yeah. So you need to have a feel. You need to have an instinctive feel of your market. Yeah, and that is what, yeah, kind of like helped me make the decisions as well. I would back it up with, I have a hypothesis, so it's a very scientific approach, and that's how I've been trained. So I have a hypothesis that I wanted to validate. Yeah. So yeah, you state the problem first. What is your it's a scientific method. Yeah, so what is
Mhm.
the problem that you're trying to solve? And then you come up with your hypothesis, and then once you have the hypothesis, two, three, maximum three hypotheses, then you validate the hypothesis. Yeah, you validate it by consumer research, interviews, your own literature search as well, online, finding out what it is. And then there's there's this is where the magic happens, that the mind will just allow you to digest all these information, sleep on it the next day or two. You'll figure out what you'll know instinctively what to do next. Yeah. And you don't need 100% of the data available to you, because you would have done, yeah, yeah, you're quite immersed in the market, and you just need to trust your instinct sometimes. Mhm.
Well, thanks so much, Vaughn. Really great insights. I learned so much from you in this session, and it's a refreshing change of pace for me to be able to speak to you about, going back into product development, something I really loved from my previous corporate life. But you're obviously applying it to your entrepreneurial career. It's really great. So, I want to greet some people watching us. Jezan, watching from Jezan, Saudi Arabia. Amal Korong, maraming salamat. Assalamualaikum to you as well. Thank you for watching us. And to Lex Tan, hi, boss RJ, watching from Davao City. I also want to greet the family right now, Vaughn, who are listening to us here right now. Thanks for joining us, Vaughn. Thank you so much for sharing us the story from the UK. Hopefully, when things are much better, I'll have a chance to visit you
Oh,
in
that
the
would be
UK. But
awesome.
hey, if you want to send some Nimble products my way, we would love to use it for the
Oh,
kids here in the house
definitely,
as well.
definitely, yes. But yeah,
Again,
send me your address. We'll send some over.
fantastic. Again, Vaughn, thanks so much. Good luck. God bless. Again, if you want to invest as an angel investor in Vaughn's in Nimble right now, you can. They're actually crowdsourcing investors. Again, here it goes. www.crowdcube.com/company/nimble/pitches/BJGMKQ. And if you want to find out more about Nimble, you can visit also their website. Let's put their website here right now. It is nimblebabies.com. So again, congratulations, Von. And again, to all those listening here right now, please join me for the next RJ Ledesma podcast. Again, guys, thanks so much. God bless. Take care. We will see you in the next podcast. Thanks so much, Von. Von,
Thank
stay around
you.
for a bit. Stay
Oh,
around.
sure. Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Bye bye. Yeah. Have a good evening.